Good afternoon, everyone. This is your host, John, of the Research Review, creating a platform to connect and inspire. I'm here with another excellent guest today, Marcus. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your research?
All right. Well, my name is Marcus Amador. I am a sophomore here at Kent State University, majoring in organismal biology. And I am in Dr. Ward's lab. Great guy. If you know him, you know him. If you don't, you don't. He's a great guy.
Mm-hmm. I actually work with a Dr. Ward, too.
Yeah.
Dr. Amy Ward, but she's in the geography department.
Yeah.
But also, great mentor. So why are you interested exactly in organismal biology? Did I say that right?
Organismal, yeah. Organismal
biology,
yeah.
Yeah,
good.
So I know there's a lot of different concentrations.
Yeah, there's like molecular, then pre-med. It's just a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But ever since I was little, I loved animals.
Yeah.
Like, I just loved animals. And I was actually zoology major.
Really?
Yeah, but like I realized I wasn't necessarily into like the zoology type of thing. And like I just kind of realized this lab work that I'm doing now like was something I wanted to continue on past and pursue a career in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I chose organismal biology, because it allows me to work in like a lab and just apply for more diverse and broad jobs.
Yeah.
Rather than zoology, because people see zoology on a resume, they just think zoos. So it's like then when you see biology, and it's literally like same classes too. Like a lot of people don't realize that.
Really?
Yeah. Like zoology major is kind of tough. So if you're a zoology major, I respect you.
Yeah.
So,
no. Yeah. Big respect to anyone in the STEM field, honestly.
Yeah. Honestly.
Like.
There's some crazy individuals out there, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, crazy and dedicated individuals. So you actually like the lab work.
Oh, yeah.
Why do you like the lab setting exactly? I do too.
Really?
I'm one of those people. But
Okay.
A lot of people are like, I can't stand to sit in a lab, or I can't stand to, you know what I mean?
I guess that's true. For me, honestly, like I like to just be in the lab because it's a controlled environment, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
so I mean sometimes you have to work under certain temperatures and that, but like for the stuff that I'm doing for my purpose, I don't really have to do that. Instead of being out in 110 degree weather working out in the field,
Right.
Shoveling, which we'll probably get into later, it's a lot better for me to just be in a lab measuring stuff out. And what I want to do is work with maybe even cancer cells and stuff like that, just do stuff along that nature. To me, like knowing I'm making some type of impact in the future honestly means a lot to me.
It's cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's cool stuff knowing that already right now. You're a sophomore, right?
Yeah.
You're just like the same place that I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool stuff knowing that being a sophomore right now, you're already going to be working on stuff that's, going to impact the future.
And they're actually working on posting my slide that I presented at the 3-minute thesis. They're actually going to be posting that outside the Cunningham Hall outside of my lab.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
Yep.
That's going to be incredible. No, let me know when that's posted, because then I want to give it a shout out on the Research Review social media page as well.
That should be. I just talked to my lab manager today about that. John, he's a great guy.
His name's John too?
Yep.
Yeah.
John Garrett.
There's some great guys.
He's a great guy. But I talked to him this morning, and he said that it should be next week, Monday, hopefully.
Okay.
He said should be, but he put it in quotations, so we'll see.
Should be.
I'm not gonna hold him to it.
There's a lot. I've noticed a lot in like the research process. We try and set deadlines as best as we can, and it's a lot of in quotation should be.
Yeah.
But I kind of like that because it makes it, at least in the field that I work in, our research is like very laid back. My experience.
You said it is laid back?
It is laid back.
Yeah.
It's the same way with yours?
For some things, yeah.
Yeah.
I think like some things they can be more lenient with others. Just recently, they have a bunch of experiments going on in Dr. Ward's lab.
Mm-hmm.
He's a crazy man. He's doing like 6 different experiments. And this one that he's working on with honey locust and black locust, I believe, they were looking at if you burn the trees, like what would happen like with the leaves when they grow back. Like what happens if you like completely scorched them, and then if you give them like too much water, if you cut like all the leaves off, what would happen? So they were looking at how these leaves grew back. And like just after the 3-minute thesis, my lab manager, he was like, I'd love to stay and talk to you, but he's like, we thought we had an extra week left of growing for the honey locust and black locust, but I gotta go. He's like, I gotta go because they're already losing their leaves because it's fall.
Yeah.
So everything's losing their leaves. They thought they had an extra week, and man, he got just overwhelmed with going and having to cut like over 100 honey locusts and black locusts down and harvesting those.
Wow.
That's just how it is when you're working with plants and stuff too.
Yeah, I can imagine, because I mean, you have a general idea of when the seasons are going to change and the activity of the plants.
Exactly.
But like it's kind of unpredictable.
It doesn't help being in Ohio either.
No,
definitely not.
So how'd you hear about research in the first place?
Honestly, like the research or SURE program in general.
Mm-hmm.
This is the SURE program.
Yeah, the SURE program.
So
summer undergraduate research experience for those who don't know.
Yeah. So the SURE program, or summer undergraduate research experience, like John just said,
Mm-hmm.
I was just literally looking around the Kent State website
Yeah.
because I was looking for some type of research to do because I thought it'd be great on my resume. And I was really looking to get out there. When I look for a job, I can say, hey, I have all these credentials and that.
Yeah,
So
it's very impressive on a resume.
yeah, it really is. And I've heard that from so many people, even like PhD students. And like I was just going on the Kent State website and I stumbled upon the SURE program. I applied and got accepted, and the rest is history pretty much.
And here we are.
Yep.
It's so crazy if you just take, say, 2 hours out of nowhere, just laying in bed and just browse your school's website.
Yep.
This is the crazy things that you can find. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. After I did research, the SURE program, and I was looking for more research opportunities, I was just browsing the page, and I found out we have 5 research institutes. Like we have the Brain Health Research Institute, the Healthy Communities Research Institute. There's a ton others. There might be more than 5 actually. But then I just randomly applied for the Healthy Communities one.
Yeah.
And like this has been so cool.
That's crazy.
Now you're connected with like a bunch of other professors, both in and out of the school, and you never know what you could find, like what link you click on, where it's going to take you.
Yep. I don't know if you mentioned this previously in another podcast, but you were in the Provost Leadership Academy.
Yes.
As was I.
we both were.
Yep, we were both in the Provost Leadership Academy. And now that I think about it, we did have one speaker, and he spoke at the 3-minute thesis presentation. Yeah. And he was like the head of research. I don't remember his name.
We had actually, I think that's where I was introduced to the SURE program.
Really?
Is there was a bunch of dudes in suits that came in.
Mm-hmm, that's when it was, yeah.
And they were talking about research. And I didn't know who they were at all. I was like, who are all these dudes in suits?
Yeah, exactly.
And then it got me to listen to them. Yeah. Like now I see them all the time.
Yeah.
But that's what, it was always sitting in the back of my mind. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah. And thinking on it now, that's what like sparked me to go looking for research stuff. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily the SURE program because I must not have been paying attention when they talked about it, but yeah, but because that's like, I remember that same night, that's when I went and looked over and was looking at research and that in the following week. And then I found this SURE program and it was just,
and then here we are today.
Yeah. It's crazy.
What was the project you're working on exactly?
So the project I was working on deals with an invasive plant species called Phragmites, and they're just a really nasty plant, and they completely take over like marshy areas, sometimes even dry areas if it gets a lot of rain. Yeah. And these plants will grow to be 13 feet tall. Wow. And they'll just completely take over an area. All the local plants there will just get completely shaded out and will just die because they don't have the necessary light needed in order for photosynthesis to occur, so they can't live. And we're looking at like why those plants are able to stay there and be so abundant in these areas, because it was theorized that rock salts had a lot to do with from the roads during the winter season, like since they put so much rock salt on the roads, that this is why like a lot of plants were like dying, and these Phragmites were just so resistant to that. And we wanted to take that a step further and say, well, maybe it's the farmers, because being in Ohio, there's a lot of
it's a big farm state.
But yeah, and then we decided to take that a step further and see if the fertilizer was what was being the main affectant of these plants and why they were so responsive and just why they were taking over. Yeah. So we were looking at that and then just comparing the differences between the two.
Between fertilizers and non-fertilizers?
Differences between the fertilizers and then rock salts. Okay. And then we also had the control group where there was just no treatment like whatsoever. So we could have a control to compare them to.
Rock salts can be some nasty stuff, like in terms of for our environment in general.
Yeah, even for like cars and like stuff like that too. Like there's some pretty bad stuff.
For our biology foundations lab, for our final, did you take that one? Yep. Do you remember the Daphnia experiment? Yep. And we took the Daphnia and we put them in rock salt water, and then they all died because of that. Yeah. Yeah, and that has a negative effect on the environment.
Yeah. For my lab, Daphnia, for those who don't know, are just a small water crustacean, just like a little microscopic
like
animal.
Fleas.
Yeah, they look like fleas almost. And for my lab, we put them in melatonin.
You put them in melatonin?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were allowed to do that.
Like they gave us a vote, And they're like, well, like, we can let these groups do this, these groups do this. We just had to get approval by the head,
Yeah.
whatever. So then they're like, yeah, you can do melatonin. So, like, it was, like, slowing down their heart rate.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's what, like, melatonin does.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, we put, like, too much. So, like, it would slow their heart rate. And someone, if they were larger, they'd survive.
Right.
And, like, the other ones would just die.
Yeah.
And it's kind of bad. It's kind of sad to watch.
I remember because we went through a good bit of them.
Yeah.
And it was hard. It was hard. I remember to count that because we had to count the heartbeats.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I think ours sped up. I'm pretty sure because when we put them in the rock salts, they got so fast like we couldn't even count them anymore. So we just guessed.
Man.
But yeah, I remember that. I remember that experiment in that lab. So what have your results been so far?
So we have recently, just a few weeks ago, just in time for the 3-minute thesis, we were able to get our results around and finally harvest everything. And we found that the fertilizers and rock salts didn't really have any effect. Like the numbers, it was like a two plant difference in the amount of sprouts that had actually occurred.
Okay.
And it's also noted that some plants did take off really well. Like some grew like 3 feet, 4 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Others like just had barely sprouted around that time. We were on a little bit of a time constraint.
Yeah.
And also we think there might have been some issue with like the greenhouse in general, just because a lot of them like died, so we didn't really have too much data.
Yeah.
But we kind of avoided the bias in that, because what we did was we took all the treatments. There's 240 treatments, by the way.
240.
Yeah. So it was 240, and then we divided it into culms and rhizomes. So 120 culms, 120 rhizomes. And of that 120, there was 40 in soil, 40 on soil, and then 40 in just water.
Okay.
Like a bucket of water.
Yeah.
And then that was for the culms and rhizomes. And then out of the 40, there was 10 in salt, 10 with the rock salt treatment, 10 with fertilizer, 10 with rock salt and fertilizer, and then 10 with nothing for the control.
Okay.
And then so it was like that for every treatment group.
Yeah.
So what we did was we took all 240, put them in a Google spreadsheet,
Mm-hmm.
and we basically just jumbled around, mixed them up with different numbers. That way when we were in the greenhouse, we didn't directly lay out them in like specific order. That way there was no bias.
Yeah, that's
greenhouse
smart.
is different. Yeah, different parts of a greenhouse can have different temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
And some might have like a leak. Like it's just, greenhouses are kind of weird.
Yeah.
But so we did that to make sure it was pretty still like controlled environment.
Mm-hmm.
The results were kind of, like I said, a little off, but we generally found no difference between the two.
Yeah.
We did find though that the rhizomes did much better than the culms, because the culms, for the people who don't know, are the above ground part that you visually see, and the rhizomes are like underneath the ground and like the main root sprouting portion of the plant.
Mm-hmm.
So it is theorized that they would do better since they are where the culm actually comes from.
Okay.
But the culm itself was actually able to still grow, like it sprouts just off of the culm, no roots whatsoever.
Yeah.
So it's still kind of crazy to see how like this plant could just get knocked over, like chopped in half, and that chopped in half part could just grow another plant.
Like a worm.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's so cool to think about.
It's wild how this stuff just occurs, and it's crazy.
Yeah. Where'd you collect your samples from exactly?
Oh, so there is a facility management place, I think, on campus. I'm not sure that's the exact name, but it's somewhere around that.
Yeah.
And so we had talked to them, and we had asked, we're like, there's this invasive plant species called Phragmites. Like, we know there's like a lot here on campus because, like I said, they're invasive. They literally take over everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, is it okay if we like dig some up for my experiment or whatever? And they're like, yes, take them all. Just get rid of them.
Just get them out of here?
They wanted us to take them all. They're like, get rid of them. We don't like them. They're disgusting. And so we went over there and we like took out, barely made a dent. Like you couldn't even notice. Like I guarantee it's probably already growing all back by now. But we were sitting over there for hours on end, like a few days in a row, like in the 100-degree heat, because it was summer when we were doing this.
Yeah.
So it was terrible. But like,
yeah, I just had an office job pretty much. You were actually out there in the field.
Yeah, but I mean, it also came with some good things, because there's other experiences. Like I helped with their research as well, and we can get into that if you wanted to as well.
Yeah, definitely.
For David Ward, like I had mentioned earlier, he's a crazy guy. Multiple experiments. And one of the experiments I'll talk about, because I could go on forever about his experiments. There was one, it's a Eastern Red Cedar project. It's a very big project he's been working on. It even got like a very big grant for the project.
Eastern Red Cedar.
Yeah.
What's that?
So it's a
trees?
type. Yeah, it's a type of tree. So
the big trees.
Yeah, the big trees.
Yeah.
And
Okay, I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, and we were working with those, and he got a very large grant
Mhm.
to work on this project and research and that. And so through his lab, I was actually able to have the opportunity to like go down to like not Kentucky, but like right around the border called
Mhm.
like Edge of Appalachia. That's where we were at least.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and
You got to go
yeah,
there.
I got to go down there and stay in a hotel.
That's
and
crazy.
Yeah, it was really nice, and it was all expenses paid
Mhm.
like through them. Like they treated me great,
Yeah.
and I actually got to work with a PhD student who lives in Pennsylvania.
Uh-huh.
His name was Lee. I don't know his last name.
Okay.
But
What university did he?
he goes to Kent. Like he's PhD working on it through Kent in the
Okay.
lab, and he was working with he was helping out David, and so we were down there. And we were just measuring the DBH of trees. So DBH is diameter at breast height for those who don't know. So
Uh-huh.
like the
Diameter
breast.
at breast height.
Yep. So like the breast obviously of a human, and then you like compare that to the tree,
Yeah.
and then you wrap your arms around it, and then that's the diameter at breast height.
Okay.
And it's pretty basic when you actually like,
Makes
explain it out.
sense.
Yeah. But like when I first heard it out and they said DBH, he's like, you know what DBH is? I was like, no. And then he explained it, and I was like, oh, that's very simple. He's like, that's how all this stuff is. He's like,
Yeah.
you just gotta know it. And there was so many like it was just a ticky area, like ticks, like
Mhm.
bad.
Did you get any ticks?
I was extremely lucky. Like
Okay.
I forgot to even spray my clothes with ticks.
Yeah.
Which anybody like who works in the field and all that is probably like face palming right now because that is dumb. But like I got completely lucky, didn't get any ticks whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like the entire summer didn't get one. And
That is lucky.
yeah, but like there was only one instance where we were driving back. We were up in Madison working with one of his other projects because
Mhm.
he has so many, and I felt something on the back of my neck, and I like go to like scratch my neck, and then I feel something, and I like grab it and like throw it because it freaked me out. So I
Right.
didn't know what to do, and it's just a tick crawling on the dashboard of the car, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
And that was on you. So
yeah.
it was on you. It just didn't
Yeah.
burrow. And so
Yeah.
you got it before.
Yeah. So then I like
Good
rolled down the
catch.
window and threw it out. And then that was the only experience I had with ticks, so I got super lucky with that.
Yeah.
But overall, it was just a great experience. Like just being able to help them with their research and see how these people who have their PhDs and working on their PhDs go about doing their research and what it takes to actually become a doctor in their field is so crazy to even see.
Mm-hmm. What was some stuff you learned from seeing that?
From seeing like these PhD students and
Yeah,
that.
and seeing like that process in action.
Yeah, I learned there's a lot of stigmatism behind like the science field in general, saying like, or at least like field results, like everything has to be like so exact, like everything needs to be like spot on. That is not really the reality of it, at least from like the area I was working in.
Right. That's
Like-
why I was surprised when it was laid back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have a feeling that like for more like genetic based stuff, DNA extracting, like stuff like that'd probably be more precise.
Yeah.
But like at least for like what we were doing, we were measuring within a given square footage area of the woods that we were working in to measure the DBH of these trees.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it so well. Me and Lee, we were walking out there, and I was like, and we were just hiking through these woods, and I was like, I don't know when we're gonna stop, like, because we just kept going.
How long
And
were
it
you going for?
Felt like 20 minutes, but it was probably like 10. But like, because he just stopped his car in like one of his trails,
Yeah.
and he's like, all right, let's go. And I was
This
like,
is walk.
where? And he's like, we're going in there, and just pointed at the woods.
Like, how long did you know this guy for?
And I didn't know him that long, but like I trusted him because
Right.
they trusted him.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those things. I was like, it's whatever. But and then so we just kind of went in there, and he's like, here's a tape measure. And I was like, what do you want me to do with this? he's like, I want you to go 100 feet that way and stop and yell, and then I want you to come back, grab another one, go 100 feet the other direction, yell, and then go another 100 feet, and then basically make a big old square. Or we were trying to make it a square.
Yeah.
And he was like, and this is when I kind of realized like things didn't really need to be like so precise in so many things that people say, because we were just doing stuff like and he was like, if it's slightly off, like it's literally not a big deal. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be like perfectly straight, like to the point where you look at that and you're like, wow, that's a great square. Like you don't need that.
Right.
But like as long as we had like the trees that were like close within the area, like within it, which makes sense, and we were just doing that, and like it honestly just opened it up to me going into this field. I was like, do I need to be so precise with everything I do?
Mm-hmm.
Like no room for error whatsoever. Like it's intimidating if you don't really
It
know.
is. Yeah. I think a lot of people who've came on here have said the exact same thing, and how
Yeah.
intimidating the process is when
It
you
really
first
is.
jump in.
Like you hear all this stuff and see everything online about this science, but once you get like hands on and like really work with like your professor, or your mentor or professor, whatever, and you like really get to know them, like they're honestly great people. They all just want to contribute some way to research and do a great job, and they just want you to be a part of that and learn from it.
Right, and especially the people who volunteer as mentors. I mean, it's something. It's like, I know with a lot of professors, teaching is required for their job, and sometimes you get professors who are really involved in research, and you can kind of tell that they don't want to teach. But when they extend themselves as a mentor for students, that's something they're not required to do.
Exactly.
That's something they do completely voluntarily.
Yep.
And they do it because, they have a passion to help people like us.
Yep.
So the people who do that are definitely like very helpful.
I'm so grateful for those people too.
Yes.
Honestly. Because just give the SURE program itself is just honestly a great opportunity all around. And just being able to work with these people and these mentors, see how they work, get a feel for it. You get paid too. You live in the dorms.
That was so nice. Did you live in the dorms over the summer?
Yeah, I did.
Really?
I did live in the dorms.
Dude, I never saw you.
I saw you walking sometimes.
Okay.
I was in Centennial D.
You were in D?
I think
How'd you
so.
end up in D? I was in B.
Oh, it might have been B.
Okay.
I think I was in B. I don't really remember.
Were you on? I was on what floor were you on?
Third.
I was on third.
Yeah, I was third.
What end of the hallway?
I
was on the right. So you go up you leave the staircase. I was all the way on the end of the right.
If you go out the elevator, I don't know about the elevator. I'm too lazy. I'm too lazy to take the stairs. But if you go out the elevator and take a left, I was on that one.
Well, yeah, that's where I was.
Oh,
at the end of the hall.
I never saw you. Yeah.
Really?
I wasn't at the end of the hall, but I was like middle. But I never saw you. That's weird.
Yeah. Do you know who Max was?
No, I didn't know anybody.
He had like long hair.
No, I didn't know anybody during the whole process. I really didn't meet many people besides my roommate. My roommate was amazing. His name was Justin. Yeah, great guy. He already had his bachelor's in biomechanics from OSU.
I know him.
He is insanely smart.
I know. Yeah, I thought it was biomechanics or bioengineering.
I think it was biomechanics.
Okay, it was biomechanics.
Because he was like, I was going to go to med school. But he's like, I decided not to because he's like, who wants to go to med school?
Right. Honestly.
And I was like, what are you doing now? He's like, computer science. And I was like, yeah, that's so much better.
Yeah. No, it was crazy because so I was sitting in one of the quiet rooms, right? And it was like 12 o'clock at night. And this is when I first started the podcast before I emailed anyone. And I was like, how am I going to get people on here? Now we don't really have a problem with that.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it was like, I only had like one episode. And I was like, I'm going to ask that guy.
Yeah.
So it was like, I was like 10 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night. And I just jump out of the quiet room. And I'm like, hey, you.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's your name? And then we introduced each other. He didn't want to come on because not everyone likes recording themselves speaking, which is completely understandable.
That's very understandable, yeah.
But we had a very good conversation. We had like a 30-minute long conversation about life decisions, I guess.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
But he literally told me like when he got in the room because he was going, I think he was washing his dishes maybe.
Yeah.
And then he was coming back into the room and he's like, some guy just asked me to do a podcast or whatever. So I guess that's what it was because he told me about that and he was like. He's like, he was a great guy. He's like, I just don't like do that type of thing. And I was like,
right.
I was like, fair. And he's like, so yeah, he actually told me about that. I remember that vividly.
Really?
So that's actually kind of funny you brought that up.
Yeah.
Great guy. I got so lucky with my roommate.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I did too. I did too. Does he still go here?
Yes.
He does?
Yeah. He commutes though because he doesn't live too far.
Okay.
But I see him every now and then when I walk on campus. I grabbed food with him the one time and he's doing pretty good. Yeah. Great guy.
What are some of your future plans for research, do you think?
Ooh, so I recently met a girl in my genetics class.
Okay.
And her sister was in the SURE program.
Yeah.
Or she's in the SURE program when we were in it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess we're still in it. And she told me, yeah.
Yeah, I guess you don't really leave.
Yeah, I guess not until after that spring semester when we present the
symposium.
Symposium. Mm-hmm. But she was telling me how her sister was working with cancer cells.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be really cool to do that. And even like seeing the 3-minute thesis presentation, like when the person was talking about how they extracted rat DNA or like rat mRNA, like they were talking about that. And I was like, I think that'd be like so cool.
That was, and their slide was amazing.
It was.
What was the name of do you remember the name of the person who did that slide?
No, I
want to get them on here so bad. Oh my gosh.
Dude, it seemed really cool. But
yeah.
I want to do something more along those lines. Like I had my fun with this plant stuff and that. And I by
Tree
no means
hugging.
by no means I didn't, not saying I didn't like it or anything. Like,
Yeah.
I loved every minute of it, and it was honestly a great experience. But like, I want to like branch out and really like broaden like my resume even,
Right.
and show like, hey, I have experience in this, working in the field, working with plants. But I've also extracted DNA from rats. So like,
Yeah.
it'd just be a crazy thing to just say and do.
Mhm.
And I honestly think it's something I'd want to do in the future. So something along like cancer cells, or even extracting DNA, working with mRNA, like just things along those lines is just, it'd be so insane to do. And I think it'd just be cool.
That would be, definitely. And I know
Yeah.
we have a couple of good projects going on here.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly in whose lab or what the exact purpose is, but I do remember reading about them. And they've been going on for a while. I've been wanting to actually get involved in some of these projects too, some more lab-focused work.
Oh, yeah.
Because
That's
I
great.
might be going for, right now my focus after undergrad is biostatistics. So more
okay.
working with data and stuff. But I'm
Yeah.
also thinking about epidemiology.
Yeah.
So I might want to, work in the lab. So I think it would just be cool to get a job doing that and be involved in research doing that and see,
Yeah, very much
more
so.
like it.
It looks, and then, like I said, it looks great on a resume.
It looks
when
definitely
you go,
looks great on
when
a
you go.
resume.
But because I'm even thinking about, I'm like almost decided, like for sure I'm gonna be doing the SURE program again.
Definitely.
Like I think I'm already like 100% on it. Might even be a mentor if they'll have me as a mentor.
There was like 5 of them, weren't there?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm. I had Kyle Rediger. He came on,
Mm-hmm.
and he was one of the mentors.
Yeah.
He is the best performing podcast right now. He's the best
Really?
performing episode. You might take that over.
We'll see. But yeah, like I'm for sure probably coming back to the SURE program.
Yeah.
It's just an overall great program, great experience, and
Definitely.
you get paid for it.
If you get paid for it, free housing.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I didn't realize this going in, and I'm sure it depends for each different project. But for a lot of projects, you can have a second job while doing it. I knew a lot of people who had a second job, and you get compensated for 40 hours a week
Yeah.
in addition to housing, but not every time do you work 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
At least in my thing. A lot more of the social and behavioral researchers, for those who didn't actually have to go into a lab for too long.
That's fair.
Yeah, they got to they worked other jobs and such. And then you could do it virtually too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like you could do part-time, you can do full-time, you can do virtual, you can be wherever and do it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean they really revolve it around the schedule. I mean the student, they're very understanding of like our needs and everything.
So understanding.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
I was gonna say even for my research, like being hands-on as it was, like I still sometimes didn't even work 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
Like when I talked about how I went down to Kentucky to help them with their lab, because when I was working with the SURE program, it wasn't necessarily I was working only on my project alone.
Right.
I was helping them with all 7 of their projects as well as my own.
Really?
Yeah, so but they managed the workload, so it was still manageable for me. And they'd tell me like, hey, if we're giving you too much, like tell us like beginning of that week, middle of that week, we can give you that Friday off, and you can just have an extended weekend and have some time to relax.
It's
so
sweet.
There
There
was multiple weeks, and they were like, I didn't even ask, and they'd be like, hey, we worked you like 12 hours the other day in the hot sun at the edge of Appalachia, Tickfield Fields, like take Friday off. And I'm like, thank you.
That's so crazy because again, like we were talking about, we thought the process of research was so intimidating coming in, and we thought it was going to be the hardest thing ever. And then I look back at the other jobs I have in terms of more physically and mentally straining. And personally for me, it was harder working in a pizza shop than it is doing research.
That's fair. I mean, when you're doing something you love too.
Yeah.
That definitely helps with it.
Oh yeah, when you do something that you love and you can really focus a long period of time on, then it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
It really doesn't.
And honestly, like, shout out to Kent State, because if you're a researcher here, even if you're anything else, like not even a researcher, they have so many resources for everything. All you got to do is just look around and you'll find something for you. And they do a great job, like just this program alone. And like the fact that they let undergrads, even outside of like the SURE program, still work in labs. Like I still work in my lab and I get paid. As an undergrad sophomore, I'm working in a research lab with PhD students.
It's insane.
It's an insane concept, and it's just crazy to say.
Yeah, we fund our undergraduate research program a lot more than other schools.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, don't get me wrong. We definitely have a great graduate school program. We have great PhD programs, and there is some phenomenal advancements going on in those departments.
Yeah.
But we focus a lot of our efforts on undergraduate research.
Yeah.
It's very unique. Not a lot of schools do that.
Exactly. Like, the other day I looked up Kent State University. I was trying to look up something. I couldn't remember what it was, but I was looking up something, and like Kent State popped up, and it said Kent State University, Public Research University, because now they're an R1 school.
Yes, R1 status.
Yep, R1 status. And for those who don't know, that means like they're like top, like that's as high as you can pretty much get.
It's like D1 research, basically.
That's a great way to put it, yes. It's pretty much D1 research.
Yeah, it's like same category as Harvard and Stanford.
Yep. And Kent State's honest, like I've talked to my professor, my lab manager about it too, my PI, and he was even saying how like Kent State's really been trying to like get that status, and like they've been putting a lot of effort into it, like with these undergraduate programs, allowing undergrads to work in the lab, allowing PhD students to work in the lab, like stuff like that. Like they've been really going the extra mile to make this happen, and they have the status now.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really long-term goal. This is something that they've been mapping out for a long time.
Yeah.
And ever since we got that, I mean, there's some crazy opportunities that open up for those attending this university in the future.
Exactly.
Because that's more grant money, that's more jobs available for undergraduate students, especially. Exactly. We're looking to grow the SURE program, bigger than ever before.
Oh, I'm sure it will grow.
Yeah, this is the biggest. There was like 140 students at the 3-minute thesis?
Yep. It's only going to get bigger. I guarantee it.
It is.
Just stuff like this, like spreading the message and just people realizing how great of a program this is. It's insane.
Yeah, and they even got undergraduate research ambassadors. There's about 8 of us, and they signed me on as one. This morning, I walked into a criminology class, grabbed a donut. They had donuts today. And I handed out, brochures with information and lanyards that says do research on them. But basically, what we do is we go into classrooms, like FYE classes and other certain events. Yeah. And we tell them, why we should do research, how it opened up doors for me personally, the different programs that the school has to offer, and kind of, like we were talking about before, eliminating that stereotype of research is so strict. And
exactly.
It's
honestly
not practical to do as an undergrad. It is. And it really changes your perspective on things.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to say is being an organizational biology major, I'm sure some people can understand, even STEM majors in general, or even like other majors outside of STEM, like everybody's busy. It's college. Like, come on. But my schedule alone, like I am super busy. I put in multiple hours at the library and study. And
I see you.
Tallest building in Portage County, by the way.
I see you in there.
Oh, yeah. But like I said, I work in my lab still, the same lab I worked with in the summer. And they're so forgiving with my hours.
Yeah.
Like, I even told them coming in, I was like, you'll be lucky to see me like 10 hours a week. I was like, if I'm being honest. And I think I've maybe worked 5-6 hours this entire semester.
Same.
Because like I just don't have time, and they understand that. They're not on me like, hey, you need to come in and do some work, you're part of the job. If anything, they did the opposite, and they're like, hey, if you still need to take time for your studies, like go ahead, whenever you need work, it's here for you.
Yeah.
So like they're super understanding. Like it's just they understand that you're an undergrad and you're trying to get your degree and further your education, research, whatever it may be, and they understand that.
Yeah, they understand that you have other goals and everything. I mean, even with my professor, when I've continued working with her after the SURE program, she said, like, some weeks you may be working more than others, but if you have a test one week or you're feeling stressed out, just tell me. Exactly. Just tell me, can we push this back? Can we do this another week?
Yep.
And if you just want to take a week off, then it's no big deal.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They understand, grades and our mental health is the first priority over results.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you're here to get your degree. And I mean, like I said, like your mental health is number one.
Yeah.
Even like for me, I've been trying to put that ahead of my grades even, and trying to give myself like stop doing work at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, give myself an hour to relax so I can fully refresh, like that next day, because I'm going to do it all over again. So it's just a nice thing to do. Yeah. Definitely look out for yourself.
What are some strategies you think that you've developed to take care of your mental health?
I'm definitely still working on it. But like I said, the main thing I've been doing, checking in with myself. Don't feel bad to take breaks for yourself.
Definitely.
Like you put in all the work you can, like like even just the other day, or like this week, I have 3 exams. And
Yeah.
I've talked about it with you.
Yeah.
And so I've been studying like crazy. Like Sunday, I put in 7 hours at the library. The day after, I put 6 hours. The next day, I put 7 hours. So like just constantly studying like hours on end. And I'm just like checking on myself, like, hey, am I good? Like, can I still do another hour? Like,
Right.
do I need to go get food? Because like that's please eat.
Yes.
Like that's one thing I've been struggling with too. You're not alone. Just make sure you're eating, make sure you're staying hydrated. Like just little things like that just make such the difference in your attitude every day.
Yeah.
Getting the right amount of sleep too. Like it all just adds
Sleep.
up.
Yeah, they make such a difference in your attitude and such a difference in performance even. Say, for example, you put in so many hours of work, right?
Yeah.
And say 10 hours is your peak.
Yeah.
But then after you start putting in 10 hours of work a day, you start to drain yourself so much where your results actually go down.
Exactly.
And then after you hit that limit, you're actually producing less results. So, yeah, you got to keep checking in with yourself and knowing when to take care of yourself and knowing when
Exactly.
you've reached your limit.
Yep.
Because you're not going to reach your full potential if you're not healthy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. And that letter grade you get does not define you.
No, it does not.
Whether you have an A, B, C, as long as you're happy with the work you're putting in,
Yeah.
and you're feeling okay mentally, physically, it's fine. You're fine.
Yeah, just be proud of yourself and stay happy.
Exactly.
So what other goals do you have for the future besides research, maybe after you get your undergraduate degree?
So after I get my bachelor's, I will be, hopefully, I don't want to do graduate school. I understand like it is cool and like good to do graduate school and that, but like some people it's just not for them.
Yeah.
And I feel like after this 4 years of college, I just want to be done.
Yes,
So,
definitely. You start actually getting out there in the work field.
Exactly. But I plan on giving myself a few months after college and looking for a job. I want to get out of Ohio.
Yes.
As great as Ohio is, the weather is a little crazy for me. And I am originally born in Texas. I miss Texas. Yeah.
We're in Texas.
It's down near the border. Like I was born 15 miles from the border.
Okay.
And I'm from Wesco, Texas.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm from. I haven't visited there in a while. And I think it'd just be great to live down there again. And because honestly, like whenever I go down there, I just feel like at peace.
Yeah.
So
like
just to
home.
go back to that place. And there's honestly a lot of biology jobs related to down there.
Really?
So like it's a great job
That's
market
cool.
over there too. So it's kind of a win-win.
Yeah.
And so like I'm kind of giving myself those few months to go and get that job over there. And then if I don't get that job in those few months, I'm going to do my master's. But hopefully it doesn't come to that. Because I want to do my master's at University of Texas in
sweet.
Austin.
Yeah.
So, but
Austin, Texas looks so cool.
Oh, it is. It's so nice. I think it's San Antonio, Texas though for this, but the Riverwalk. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Riverwalk.
It's amazing. Should be an eighth wonder of the world, honestly. Like at night, it's lit up, all these lights. Especially if you probably go like near like Cinco de Mayo or something like that. Like, oh, it's so amazing. I remember going down there as a little kid and seeing all the lights. They even had the little boat going down the stream, and you're just walking like along, and all these little shops. And it's just so nice. It's just a great experience, honestly. Like, there's so many things out there that people just don't realize, and it's insane.
It's the new and up and coming place. I mean, everyone's talking about it. People from California are moving over there.
Oh yeah, it is, and just like places in the world in general. There's so many places out there.
I know. It's such a good experience to get out of your bubble.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Even moving 40 minutes away from my home, I'm from Cleveland. Even coming to Kent, instead of originally I was gonna go to Lakeland for a couple of years, Lakeland Community College. Yeah. But I wanted to get or I was gonna go to Cleveland State.
Oh, okay.
And just save a little bit of money and stuff.
That's fair.
But I decided to come here, and I'm so glad I did. Living on your own and getting away, meeting new people.
So many opportunities. So many opportunities.
Yeah.
I mean, I came from 3 hours away, and like just being here, like I graduated with a class of 42, which may sound crazy. That's 42 people in my high school class. That's who I graduated with.
This small.
Yeah, it's very small. I haven't met anybody else on this campus with a smaller size. So coming here, and when there's like over 4,000 kids in our class, it's a little insane. But like honestly, I think it's so cool to like be here with all these people, and just like it was culture shock at first. 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, now I'm used to it, and like I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Honestly, it's just a great place to be.
It's crazy to me to think like like I know a lot of people, you know what I mean? Like I meet new people every single day, and I love
literally.
it. But I don't think I'm going to be able to meet every single person in the class.
Oh, there's no way. There's too many people.
It's crazy. That's so crazy to think about, you know?
And people transferring, people leaving, people. Oh my gosh, that's insane. The kids who come out of high school with 60 college credits and just jump into college and they're already a sophomore. Like, then you got those people.
I wish that was me so much.
I have one friend like that.
Was me. You do?
Yeah, he's younger than me by a year, and he's a junior right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's he doing?
He's applied engineering.
Okay.
His name's AJ Bernardo. I'll shout him out real quick.
Shout out AJ.
He's a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
that's insane.
And like when we're talking about how there's so many different things out there, I recently like just got a passport because I want to go somewhere. Like, there's like just being at Ken's, like realize there's so many things out there.
Where do you want to go?
Oh man, I haven't thought about that like quite yet. Because what I want to do is I'm hoping after this next summer SURE program, I'm hoping that like junior year summer, going into my senior year, I want to do an internship overseas.
Yeah,
so
that'd
like
be sweet.
Yeah, like that's what I want. Like so, hopefully like having this like on my resume beforehand, they're like, okay, like he's a qualified candidate for this. So like hopefully I can go do some research like overseas and just see like what's going on over there too. Maybe even move over there. Who knows? Like
who knows?
Whatever life takes you, you know.
I want to check out New Zealand, Switzerland, and Australia.
I want to go to Amsterdam.
Amsterdam.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go to Amsterdam.
I'll check that out too.
Looks so insane. I've been seeing so many like videos just randomly pop up everywhere, and it's just like, oh.
Yeah, like it's all been like my whole TikTok feed recently. Is like go here for grad school or like come travel here.
Yeah.
And cheap like Airbnbs and stuff, and I was like, I want to go so bad.
It's
like now's not the
so
time.
Insane. Yeah. Literally.
So we talked a little bit about how, getting out of your bubble changes your perspective and benefits you as a person. How do you think the research process in general and doing research has changed your perspective and helped better you as a person in general?
Oh, honestly, I think it helped me so much. Like just being able to go up to people, like especially going into the SURE program as like a freshman or doing this research as like a freshman.
There's
like,
a lot of people, a lot of them are juniors and seniors.
Yeah, exactly. So like when I was going in there, I wasn't even a sophomore yet.
Right.
And my roommate was a senior and he was
already a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, he already had his bachelor's degree. So I'm walking in there and I'm just this little old freshman from a class of 42.
Yeah.
And so I'm going in there and I'm like, not necessarily like scared to ask people questions, but it's like I'm working with all these PhD students and it's like they're so much older than me.
Right.
Like even like we went out to eat when we were down on the edge of Appalachia and we were sitting there with Lee and it was my PI and we were sitting there and my lab manager, not my PI, and my lab manager, John, he's talking about his kids.
Yeah.
and then the Lee, he was just talking about how he does all this stuff. Like he's drinking and all that. I'm like, I'm not even the legal age to drink or whatever. And like they're just talking about how they have all these friends who have like kids and stuff. And I'm just like, I'm just over here.
Like, just like chilling. I've like never had that conversation before. I don't know anyone who has kids.
Yeah,
like
it's so insane.
These people have like whole lives.
Yeah, like they already married for 10 years and they're working on their PhD and then it's like, oh, it's so crazy. But like going through all this research and talking with these people like one-on-one, like these people love to be asked questions. They love to be asked about their research. They want to tell you about their research. Don't be afraid to go up to anybody.
Yeah.
Like, it's so insane. That's the one thing I realized, and especially like even professors, like if you go up to a professor and you talk to them and you ask like, hey, do you have a lab? Like what research are you doing? Oh, they'll love to tell you about it. I mean, some professors are just kind of sticklers and they don't want to talk to you. But like the other ones, they'll happily talk your ear off about it. Like,
because I mean, if you spend, I don't know, some PhDs can take more than like 8 years or something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
And especially with like postdoc and everything. If you spend that amount of time on just one field of study, and sometimes just on one specific topic in that field of study, and that's all you do, that's like all you've done, I mean, you gotta love that. You know what I mean? And so you gotta be so excited about that. When I've started new projects that I sit down and talk with a professor, I mean, I've had a 2-hour conversation with a professor one time.
And it's just
about it was so insightful for me. I don't know, like I've learned more in that 2-hour conversation than I have in a whole class.
Exactly.
'Cause, I mean, you're actually engaged in it. You know what I mean?
You're
Like,
talking
actually
one on
engaged in
one,
that.
and it's stuff that they're passionate about. You
Yeah.
can tell they're passionate about, and
Mhm.
it just means a lot more than them reading off a slide view.
Definitely. I mean, that's one of the reasons I started this podcast too.
Oh yeah.
Because I noticed in the like even just with students, I would go into the kitchen and I would
Mhm.
talk with students. I
Oh,
would just
yeah.
ask them, "Hey, what's your research?" People's face would just like light up. And I
Mhm.
love seeing people get so excited about
Yep.
that, and they just talk and talk and talk, and then we get other people to come in and join the conversation and talk
Oh,
and talk
it's
and talk.
Endless cycle.
Yeah, it was such a great way to build a community, and I said, why don't I told my roommate Max, I'm like, why don't we just start recording these
Mm-hmm.
and just do this? It's been the exact same thing, and it's helped me grow so much as a person.
Oh yeah.
Is hearing other people, hearing your guys' perspectives, and
Mhm.
all the cool stuff that's going out here. Next semester, I'm actually extending invites out to professors and faculty too.
That'd be
Yeah.
very interesting to do. Yeah.
But we got to pretty up in the studio a little bit before.
a little bit. It'd be all right.
We just got the sound panels in here.
Ooh.
Mhm.
Okay.
So it's a pretty fancy addition.
Adding the
And
additions.
whatever that is, I don't even know. That's like a light. It doesn't even work.
Yeah.
Whatever. Mhm.
I mean, hey, it's coming along. I mean, you're honestly doing great work with this podcast. Just
Yeah.
keep spreading the message out
Bro,
there.
you're doing great work out there, and thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, for real.
Mhm.
Just trying.
Yeah.
That's all we. That's
You're
all
doing
we
it.
can do.
You're doing a great job.
That's all we can
Yeah, you're doing a great job. So, why would you recommend doing research to
do. Oh man,
graduate students?
I would recommend research, just because it's honestly amazing. There's no other way to put it. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
And what you can do with research, you can do so many different things with research. We had a kid in our short program who was doing like some jazz thing, like he was doing some music thing, like, and people when they think of research, they don't think of like music and taking away the ensemble away from like whatever.
Mhm.
And I don't know the specifics, so sorry if I butchered that. but like people don't really think about that.
Right.
And like research can be whatever you want research to be. You can research literally anything.
Mhm.
And as long as you're passionate about it, who says you can't do it?
Right.
Like you can do anything you want.
Yeah.
And that's the amazing thing about research. It's
Mhm.
just so broad.
Mhm.
It can be as specific as you want it to be, as broad as you want it to be.
Yeah.
It can be whatever you want it.
Exactly. Like my first episode on here was teaching LGBTQ plus education abroad, and then I
Mhm.
had another one on here about best ways to teach Shakespeare in the classroom.
Yep,
Xavier,
yep.
he actually won first place at
Yeah.
the
Amazing presentation.
yes, at the 3-minute thesis, and yeah, he did a fantastic job. But
He did a great job.
yeah. Well, Marcus, if you had one more message to share with the world, what would it be?
Do research.
Do research.
Do research.
I love it.
That's my message.
Marcus, thank you so much again for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome back anytime. Just knock on my door because we live right next door.
Yep.
And again, this is your host, John, of the Research Review, creating a platform to inspire. Peace out.